Oh, I just got a thing saying we're live streaming on my phone.
You're live streaming. I just gotta find our
See?
our
Yeah,
audio here.
rock. Yeah, Rocky.
Ah, nice. Hello and welcome to Wi-Fi Optional, the weekly tech show where we talk tech so you don't have to. This is episode 28, recorded Wednesday, July 13th, 2016, and
Time
fresh off
machine again.
the time traveling again, fresh from the baseball field. Mr. Jason Watercott here is with me, and my name is Rukshan. And how was the game today?
We have losing, but it's always good to get out and
It's the
run
spirit that
around a little
counts,
bit,
right?
get some.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
The beer
Yep.
is we're a beer drinking team with a softball problem, so
Did you find any Pokemon on the fields at
no,
all?
I actually thought of it when I was there to fire up my phone, but I didn't. So I held myself back. So no, yeah, we're a little delayed this week with storms and anniversaries and softball games. So coming about what 36 hours later than we normally do.
Yeah, you bet. But better late than never. So,
Exactly.
all right, here we go.
So our first story is Tesla getting autopilot blame for another crash. Coming from Gizmodo, another Tesla vehicle crashed while operating autopilot mode, according to the car's driver. The latest crash occurred on July after U.S. regulators announced they were going to investigate the first fatality in a wreck involving a car in self-driving mode. The latest crash involved the Tesla Model X this time. Uh, the more spacious variant of the Model S, about 100 miles outside of Pittsburgh. According to the Detroit Free Press report, the driver said said in the police report that he activated the vehicle's autopilot feature before he hit the right side of a guardrail, crossed over both lanes, hit a concrete median, then flipped onto its roof. All passengers of the vehicle survived the crash this time. The driver is Albert Scaglione, which sounds like he's a mobster of some sort, must have had complete confidence in his vehicle's ability to see the road ahead of him. He used the autopilot in an area known for being difficult to navigate, according to the Detroit Free Press reporter Greg Gardner. Anyone who has driven on the Pennsylvania Turnpike knows it is a narrow shoulders and concrete medians leave little margin for the driver's air. Um, Again, the last crash seemed to be, well, we haven't heard the report on it yet, seemed to be somebody who's kind of carefree watching Harry Potter and running into a semi. Now this one seems that, hey, let's pick, the hardest road in the area and throw autopilot on and see if we can't roll the damn thing over. So I don't know what people are thinking, but it's not boding well for the autopilot mode in Teslas, but I guess we'll have to see what the report says in this one as well.
I honestly think that we're expecting way too much from autopilot. When with cruise control, you still have to have some form of you have to have your hands on the wheel. You still have to steer. Uh, Cruise control only controls one portion of the automatic driving, whereas with the complete autonomous driving, I think what these people are doing is they're like, oh, this is going to drive by itself. I'm not going to worry about it. I can do something else. Uh, but no matter how complex these computers are, they just can't match the reflexes and how well we can navigate a tough situation. So I think right now, and this we still have to wait till the reports come out, but for the most part, I feel like we're just putting too much trust in these things. And there's enough warnings when you turn it on saying, hey, you still have to pay attention, you still have to have your hands on the wheel, but just like anything, we're going, we don't need to do that. But two now, so we'll see what happens. But the new Tor-powered backdoor malware is targeting Mac. Security researchers have found a new backdoor program that allows attackers to hijack Mac systems and control them over the Tor network. The new malware being dubbed backdoor.mac.eleanor by researchers from antivirus vendor Bitdefender and is distributed as a file converter application through reputable websites that offer Mac software. The rogue application is called EasyDoc Converter. Once installed, it displays a fake interface where users can supposedly drag and drop files for conversion. but which in reality doesn't do anything. In the background, the application executes a shell script that installs multiple malicious components. The malware has three components: web service, PHP application, Tor hidden service that allows attackers to connect to the affected system over the Tor network, which is actually anonymous, and an agent that posts the Tor access URLs for infected systems to the Pastebin website, which is a secure notepad type application. PHP application served by the web service is actually a backdoor that allows attackers to view, edit, rename, delete, upload, download, archive, pretty much take control of the entire system. Good news is that the app is not digitally signed by an Apple approved certificate, so users will see security warnings on the latest OS X version if they try to install it. On OS X El Capitan 10.11, users would actually need to perform a manual override in order to install the application. So it looks like there are some fail-safes. But what I find interesting in this article is back in the day, these hackers and these malware, the hackers themselves, they had to find some kind of a vulnerability within the code of the operating system to somehow get in. Now they're actually having the users do the dirty work for them. So that's actually kind of funny to me. It's like, oh, hey, here, download this document that they're basically going after the weakest link in the chain.
Yeah, and that's and anybody knows that I've had it where it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm working on something and I need to convert a file, and you kind of go through and download like 8 applications just to find one that that would work for you. And so
Right.
I've been in that place where I would just install something to see if it would work, and like you said, it's an easy way for them to get into it. But I like that last bit in there because I know that was a pain in the butt when they implemented. I think it was Windows 7 or maybe Vista.
It was Vista.
Yeah, that they
Yes.
implemented the security on installing these, and people hated it. It really does provide a service in this kind of situation where it doesn't allow unsigned software or things that might be malicious to install itself without any kind of warning to the end user. So
I
I
think
guess
a warning of this kind, it's like, hey, you're downloading something that's not signed. I think would make more sense. But I think on the Vista side, it's like, hey, you plugged in a pair of headphones. Would you like to turn them on? Oh, looks like you're trying to plug a new mouse. Yes, I see the logic behind it, but I think they kind of went a tad bit overboard on it.
yeah, either way though, I think this it's just like the holding hostage things we've seen
Oh, right.
with other hacker attacks and things, and I think this is just the tip of the iceberg kind of thing, where more of the stuff using Tor to basically anonymously connect to these computers. So they're
Oh, we may have lost Jason. We may have lost him, but we'll hang tight. We'll try and get him back online. The next story we're going to jump into: Faro MicroSD. Samsung unveils first UFS memory cards. A new way of removable storage is coming. Samsung unveiled the industry's first universal flash storage cards, or UFS cards. Though they're the same size as the traditional microSD card, UFS promises read speeds up to 5 times faster, up to 530 megabytes per second, and write speeds twice as swift. Available in 32 gig, 64, 128, and 256 gig storage capacities, Samsung's UFS cards are aimed at high-resolution mobile shooting devices like DSLRs, 3D virtual reality cameras, action cameras, and drones. Samsung said its UFS cards can read a 5 gigabyte full HD movie in about 10 seconds compared to 50 seconds on a typical UHS-1 micro SD card with 95 megabytes of sequential reading speed. According to CNET, Samsung's UFS cards are not compatible with existing devices that use micro SD. Pricing and launch details were not yet announced, which is really cool that they came up with this new format, but it's kind of a drawback that these UFS cards, from what they look like, they might actually fit physically in a micro SD slot, but then the fact that they're not backwards compatible is kind of a drawback. Speaking of things that are actually improving, a report claims that Apple might actually kill the headphone jack on the next iPhone. Rumors are mounting that Apple will actually get rid of the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack on the next iPhone, with the latest report coming from Fast Company. This follows up multiple reports from Asian blogs stating that Apple would cut the audio port to make its flagship phone thinner. According to Fast Company, Apple is planning on using the Lightning port for wired headphones, but it may not ship a pair of Lightning-enabled earpods with the next generation iPhone, instead opting to sell a pair of noise-canceling Lightning headphones separately. Apple is reportedly working to add new noise-canceling features to the audio chipset with the Cirrus Logic chip that they have in there, and that's the Cirrus Logic is also their audio chip partner, which will cut into background noise, and also they'll with the new Lightning headphones. This is actually really interesting because Apple is known for innovating. They're the ones that got rid of the floppy drive. They're the ones that got rid of the CD-ROM drive. They said, "Yep, no, we don't need it anymore." And as much as we tend to hate it, they start the trend, and a lot of the other companies will follow. So this might be something that we may see that might get prevalent, with the newer devices, the newer phones, and even the new laptops. You might be getting rid of the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Also, with some of these new devices with Bluetooth, you can actually pair a set of Bluetooth headphones. You're going to be completely cordless. Makes complete sense. Built in. And from a physical form factor, you can make the device a lot thinner, a lot slimmer. Next story. Skype for Business will live translate meetings into 40 languages. Microsoft is bringing the dream of Star Trek Universal Translator to business later this year with the launch of a new beta feature that offers live captioning of Skype for Business. That will broadcast in 40 languages using Microsoft's Bing Translator technology. Speakers will be able to talk into one of a handful of supported native languages, and the viewers will be able to view a computer-generated text translation of what's being said. Skype meeting broadcast is designed to allow a small number of speakers to broadcast a presentation to up to 10,000 viewers for webinars, company meetings, and other large occasions. Right now, those viewers can only hear the presentation in whatever language the speaker is using, but this translation feature will help bridge the language barrier. This launch brings a cool feature to Skype for Business that's based on technology previously used in the consumer version of Skype. It comes at a time when the company is pushing hard to get Skype for Business in use at as many companies as possible. Microsoft faces stiff competition in the area from both established players and upstarts like Slack and HipChat. This actually might be really cool for international business. That's the first thing I see, especially with a lot of companies using Skype to communicate with, their the warehouses and manufacturing companies like in China and other places. And so being able to actually use something like this to somewhat break the language barrier might be actually pretty cool. Looks like Jason's back with.
Yay!
He's back, but
LTEing it up.
Yep, you're hotspotting it, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my other connection, but no, I before the show I looked up an article. I wanted to see it because I remember when they officially announced the consumer version, when they had the translate function as a beta, and it was back, I believe it was back in December 2014. Is when they originally rolled that out, and I thought it was such a cool thing, and then it kind of laid low and you never heard anything about it until now. And now kind of when they're going more to the business route, buying LinkedIn and doing all these kind of things, it's interesting to see them, like you said, develop a function where smaller businesses could do international business and have a translator without having to spend oodles of money or have something fly out to people and translate in person or something. So really kind of a cool idea, but like I said, it's just interesting to see something that's almost 2 years old finally get used by Microsoft and Skype, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder if they're getting to that point where now they're seeing more and more companies coming in with similar products, so there's more competition in the playing field. So they're going, hey, we need to start throwing out whatever cards we have in our back pocket to make us more attractive to anyone that wants to use a similar feature.
And that's the thing. I think if you have everything, that's kind of lost my train of thought. I was going to say, but the method where the Apple method, you get them in the ecosystem and they have to stay there. They don't go out and use some other random service or something like that. So, yeah, definitely. I like the way that Microsoft is going now. It's different from where they were in the past with, developing within and keeping everything internal. They're kind of more open and open to new ideas. So, should be interesting to see where they go from here. Last story is an interesting one.
It's funny too.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny because it happens in smaller companies. You wouldn't think it would happen with a security or a router company. But what we're talking about is TP-Link forgets to renew its domain, which isn't a big deal, but it's the one they use for the router configuration settings. So network equipment vendor TP-Link uses either TP-Link-Login.net or TP-Link-Extender.net for its router configuration. Although users can also access the router administration panel through the local IP address, normally 192.168.1.1 or something similar. The first domain offered by the company is usually used to configure TP-Link's routers, and the second is used for TP-Link Wi-Fi extenders. Here's the blunder. TP-Link has reportedly forgotten to renew both of these domains and that are used to configure the routers and access administrative panels of its devices. Both domains have now been re-registered using an anonymous registration service by an unknown entity and are being offered for sale online for a small amount of $2.5 million each. So $5 million for the whole bundle. The latest TP-Link oversight, which was first spotted by Cybermoon CEO, I think it's Amite Dan, could lead his users to potential problems. However, it seems that TP-Link is not at all interested in buying back these domains, as Dan claims that the hardware vendor is updating its manuals to remove the domain name references altogether. Fortunately, TP-Link-Login.net and TP-Link-Extender.net usually come printed on the back of the devices as well. So users accessing this domain on the device could end up to a domain under a third party's control. In this case, malicious actors could get their hands on these domains. They could use them to distribute malware, serve phishing pages, instructing users to download new firmware, quote unquote, for the router, and request devices or social media credentials from the users. So long story short, that's the first thing I saw is, you get a man in the middle attack and somebody, you think you're updating your router settings and here you're, on some website in Uzbekistan.
Create some kind of a backdoor VPN.
Yeah. And two is, I love their method of, hey, let's just try to erase it ever happened and, rewrite manuals. I think that's just a absolutely ignorant way to do it, but interesting way, because like they said in the article, I'm pretty sure every bottom of every router has, go to TP-Link-Login.net to set up your router. So I don't know how they're going to fix that.
Well, the CEO of Cybermoon actually had a fairly good idea. He actually recommended all the ISPs. It's a gargantuan task to do, but he recommends all the ISPs to block traffic to those domains, which in a roundabout way, yes, it does make sense, and that will to a certain degree prevent it. But there are so many little mom and pop ISPs out there that we don't know about, and in order to propagate that, unless they all sync up to one global DNS database, it's just going to be massive.
Could they reroute it just to 192.168.1.1 so that serves you up that IP and goes internally then too? I suppose they could do that.
Yeah,
they could hard code it almost like a host file. Just this is where it's actually supposed to go. But
yeah, so I mean they'd have to change the DNS record, but I mean you can certainly hit some of the major DNS servers like Google or some of the bigger ISPs, the Comcast, the Xfinity, the Comcast, and the U.S. cables and all that stuff, and the Charters of the world. But when you get into some of the smaller ones, if they're going to piggyback on one of those bigger ISPs DNS servers, great. But if they want to run their own for traffic management or whatever, then that causes a problem.
And this, my last thought of is, TP-Link, they're cheap, they make good stuff. But this is kind of what you get for going with a quote unquote off brand, I guess. It's you kind of get what you pay for kind of thing. And they're, they don't have the manpower behind it probably that the Netgears and the Belkins and things do to stay on top of this stuff. So this is kind of the things that tend to happen.
Right, and this is one of those things where anybody that is fairly tech savvy, like UI or anybody that's in the networking sphere probably will not use. I'd rather go to the IP address and then actually
I've ever done
connect
it.
to it. But your regular home consumer that wants to set it up, oh yeah, they'll probably use it. So that's where and they become great victims too. It's like, oh, who do you want to get? Somebody that doesn't really know much about how everything works.
Right. Well, should we get to the big giant red, white, and black elephant in the room?
Yeah, we might as well. Yes.
So everybody probably knows that when was it actually released? Was it last Saturday?
I think it was Thursday. It was a Thursday or a
Thursday? Yeah.
Friday. Yeah,
Anyways,
was
we're
when it
talking
got
about
released.
Pokemon Go, and if people don't know, you probably know better than I do what it is. I literally downloaded it, caught one thing in the tutorial, and I don't think I've really done much since then because I don't feel like walking around trying to find things. But um, basically, it's a VR slash outdoor slash game slash. It's a very different kind of app that we haven't seen in a while. Actually, the company that the idea, I can't remember what the actual game was before, but the idea behind it was a different game, and now it's kind of been rebranded to the Pokemon world. Is where it got its traction, I guess, in this case. But it's blowing up. I believe they have more active users on Twitter right now. They've taken more traffic than actual porn right now or something like that on the internet. Some
Yep.
crazy stat I've actually heard, and so it's definitely huge. But there's also some interesting side effects that we've seen come even the short time that we've had this wonderful game in our presence. So um, I'll let you kind of take it from there if you want to bring up any topics. But that's
Well,
it's very interesting story that's still unfolding.
it's popular is to say the least. I mean, their servers were down for days on end, and they had a tough time. It would come up and it would stay up for about a half hour, and it would go down for another 3 hours because there was just that much traffic. But um, like you said, it's a very out of the box thinking format for this game. They took your traditional Pokemon game. They added augmented reality. They use your GPS, and then you basically have to walk around. You can the way I see it, you can certainly thank them for fitness. So we're gonna find out in a couple of months that this was a big elaborate scam to get everybody to work out, and everybody's gonna get their vitamin D. But I also feel like we're kind of on the rising edge of a peak. I look at this kind of like how some of the other massive games that came in. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank because I thought of that game that was just massive not too long ago on Android and iOS. Wasn't Bejeweled, but
Candy Crush.
Candy Crush. Thank you very much. Just like Candy Crush, when that came out, it did gangbusters. I mean, people are downloading it, servers were going down, and then after a while you kind of drop off, and then it kind of plateaued. But I also see this as a massive business platform because I think on one of our very first Wi-Fi optional episodes, we talked about in-app purchases and how all these companies are making money from more money from in-app purchases than they actually are from the actual the product itself. I can totally see these guys coming out and saying, "Oh, hey, guess what? You want to?" Oh, and they already announced that in one of the next versions that's going to come out, one of the next updates, you will be able to trade your Pokemon characters
Mhm.
that you catch. So what's to say that they're going to go, sure, yeah, you can trade a penny a trade. That's
Yeah.
real cheap, but that adds up real quick. And also, I can see businesses coming in and saying, hey, you know what? You want to here's $1 million. Why don't you put some of the rare Pokemons in Walmart or Target or why
Exactly.
don't you put some in our business so we can actually bring those people in? Or you can market it. You can market it any which way. You buy $500 worth of stuff at this big box store, it'll automatically unlock a certain whatever it is. Um, so I can see this being what we're seeing right now as the first phase, and I can totally see this just getting ramped up and just keep going up until they can milk it no more, so to speak.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of bugs, and like you said, we're in the very early stages of this. But I mean, at first, the apps were asking for full rights over
Oh,
your
yep,
Google
absolutely.
account, to even down to like we use Google Drive for our podcast. Well, the dang app could have apps access to our show notes, even
Yep.
though it's not going to do anything with them. But you think you dig in it further like that, some people are saying YouTubers, if their YouTube account was tied to that Gmail account, they could have access to all their analytics and all their their AdSense payments and things like that. So really they fixed that. I think that got updated today, I believe. But
Yeah, I
then
think so. Yep.
you have other just social issues of there's stories of people walking into traffic and get hit by cars, and falling into bushes and into lakes because they're staring at their screen. And if everybody doesn't know, the app works is you hold your phone up, and through the I wish I could do it right now, but through the app, through the camera, it's augmented reality where it shows what's through your camera, and then it basically puts the Pokemon characters on in the real world. So realistically, you shouldn't be walking into things, but if you're so focused on tossing your little Pokeballs at the characters, you might end up walking into traffic or stepping in a manhole or doing something silly. So there's lots of social things they got to work out, and like you said, lots of monetary things. And I know one of the issues they have right now is, from what I've heard from just talk from people and other publications, is the monitoring the system. The way they monetize the system so far is you can pay to set traps, you can pay to buy more
Yes.
Pokeballs, do all this stuff. And when it's a fine line in apps like this where you have a a free play part of it and then a pay part of it, that you don't want to make the pay part of it really make people that much better than the free part of it. And they've kind of done that in this case, where instead of having chances of getting better things, it's just if you can basically buy your way into having a high level character in the game. So they got to work through that. And I think, like you said, when it comes down to the trading and stuff, that's really start to whittle down, and that's why they haven't released it yet, the trading portion, because they want to make sure they have that system right before they send it out for the public. So it's a very new thing, but just the explosion and what we've seen out of it so far has just been absolutely amazing. And I don't know if it's the perfect storm of VR and getting people out and about, and the fact that it's Pokemon, or if it's just something new like this. And it's very similar to geocaching. Geocaching was huge for a short period of time, and now it's kind of fallen off, and there's still a cult following with it. But I just don't know if this is going to stick around, or it's going to be like geocaching where it's huge for 6 months to a year, and then all of a sudden people kind of go, yeah, I'm sick of it, and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and I think you're right on. It's with geocaching was a perfect example, but I think one of the things with geocaching was you had to have this very specific device to go with, um, the actual the geocaching activity. You can't just walk up to something. You need some kind of a GPS. Whereas now they're actually using your cell phone, where everybody has one. So perfect pairing, perfect timing, perfect match. And the other thing I thought about is you kind of touched base on it, and coming back to that with the whole data thing. Even though they fixed this loophole of being able to access your entire Google account, they still can capture a ton of information, about your phone, your operating system, your GPS location. So basically, they can go, oh, user 12345. Here's their map. Here's where you go. So you can actually get a lot of very localized metadata. You can pinpoint to down to a user level.
I
And
thought
then
of that. Oh, good. I was
yeah,
gonna say,
go ahead.
I thought of that too, but the only thing I thought about that is, yeah, but are most of these people playing it in their daily lives, or are they going out of their way to chase down Pokemon? You know what I mean? Like, is
Right.
that data they're capturing actually valid to finding what people's trends and
I would
processes are?
I would think if they have enough metadata, not 2 days worth of data, but you run it for 60 days. It's like, oh, hey, this person likes to be within this area.
We
Every
can
so
weed out the
often he goes
anomalies.
out,
Yeah.
right? And then, I can totally see them taking that metadata, turning around, selling it, saying, oh, this person likes to go to shopping malls looking for, oh, okay, we need to start sending him stuff about, such and such, or let's pop up ads, whatever. So I can totally see a huge marketing side to it coming out in, the next phase and then some.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like you hit it on the head, where we're at such an early stage, you just really don't know what's going to come of all this, and it should be interesting. And I have a feeling that this is going to be the angry, or well, not the Angry Birds, was it Flappy Bird?
Yes.
Story where you're going to see so many spin-offs of a Mario one of some sort, or something like that, where you're going to see spin-offs of this similar game, but just a little bit of a twist on it. So it might not be the first, might not be the last, but it should be an interesting ride. We should see in the next few weeks to months. So
Yeah, it certainly is going to be interesting. And I do like the fact that there's this big out of the box thinking. So now this kind of they've already opened up the gates. So now, like you said, other developers are going to come in and come out with clones, other games that are going to be similar. So it'll be interesting to see. 30 minutes on the money. That's actually our show for today. Thank you very much for listening. And let me get our ending theme song here. We are on Twitter. Our Twitter handle, lost my train of thought. Twitter handle is Wi-Fi Optional. If you want to get in touch with us, info@wifioptional.com. If you have a question, comment, just want to say hi, join in on the show, tune in on one of our live tapings. You can find us, our audio version is available on iTunes. Look for us. If you want to listen to us on your favorite podcatcher, rss.wifioptional.com is our URL. Purple Planet, thank you to them for providing the music. Purple-planet.com is their URL, so make sure to check them out. Thank you very much for listening. Subscribe if you like the show. And for myself, Rukshan, and Jason, have a good night.
Have a good week.